Did you miss Mike Waddell and Steve Aoki talking about Hiroquest on AMP? Welcome back to Cryptid Theory. Tormentic here, and today I want to talk about the AMP interview between Steve Aoki and Mike Waddell. There was a ton of information that was released, I guess you want to say, during that interview, but most of it was strictly around this character called Hiro. Now, the interesting thing is that Hiro is mentioned in Chapter 1. I think it's year 2029, Sam is 16 years old, and he is mentioned as one of the posters that's on the wall that Sam passes on his way to school every day. And he's fighting the mythical Piazza bird, just throw that out there. But he's described as a Superman knockoff. He is the unofficial, I guess, protector or defender of Unity City. The reason why I bring him up specifically is I think that Hiro is the same Hiro that we actually see in Hiroquest. Because when Sam goes to Unity City in Chapter 2 after Point Pleasant is destroyed, we don't see Hiro. So I'm not sure if he might have disappeared or something in between those 2 years. Potentially though, like we find out from this interview, Hiro is an evergreen caster that has the ability to time travel. So I actually think that Hiro left Unity City somewhere between 2029 and 2031 on his trip into the future. Now, a direct quote from Mike, he says that Hiro has been around for a very long time. So he has that evergreen distinction. Mike even said that he was an evergreen caster. Hiro, his whole reason for going into the future was he wanted to see what the world would be like if evil won. So Mike then started actually talking about how Hiro wanted to, like I said, see what the future was like when Indrid Cold, if Indrid Cold won. He goes far into the future, and that's when he sees that these rings, these pullet rings, are the dominant power. Everything is broken up into 5 different factions. You have the Io, the Astrals, Torobons, Diosos, and Extents. Those are the 5 different factions. Now, each one of those factions has their own pullet ring. Now, we're not entirely sure what these pullet rings are or exactly why they have so much power. It's interesting though, because there is a card, it's Jack's Frost ring. And I actually have a theory that this ring potentially could be one of those pullet rings far into the future, because remember, Hiro goes way far into the future in order to see this. Now, according to Mike, Hiro does come back to our time in order to warn us exactly what is to come if we let darkness, if we let Indrid Cold win. Mike also said that Hiro is a linchpin character for the MetaZoo series, and he is a very essential character in the overall lore. Now, the most interesting thing actually about this talking, I guess, between Mike and Steve, besides the fact that Hiro is an evergreen caster that can time travel, is that they were going and talking about the overall MetaZoo universe at large, saying that Hiroquest is actual part of MetaZoo lore, that it includes not just the cryptids and the real lore, but these original characters that MetaZoo is creating in conjunction with Steve Aoki, and it expands past that cryptid lore. Hiroquest, aptly named, is just the genesis of this universe that they are trying to create. If you want to, you can think of it as a whole new world with separate characters that actually complement and add to the original story of MetaZoo. Nothing should actually counteract each other, nothing should cancel one another out. These actually will work in tandem and complement each other. They then talked about the 5 factions again, and of how those 5 factions have replaced tribes, and that each, like I said, each of the tribes has its own pullet ring, and Hiro is going around trying to gather all of them in order to use that power to defeat evil. Mike also stressed that this is just one of the worlds of MetaZoo, that this is not the set-in-stone reality of the current Cryptid Nation lore that we're used to right now. That this is just one of many possibilities. This is a potential future if Indrid Cold won, not saying that Indrid Cold will. So it's interesting because it means that we have our main universe of MetaZoo, Cryptid Nation as I'll call it, but then you're going to have these offshoots like Hiroquest, for example, to where it could be almost as like a what if, but they'll still complement each other and they're not going to actually create any sort of contradictions. Now, they were talking about a Hiroquest 2 called Hiroquest Remix. Steve was talking about how, I believe it was something crazy, like 24 or 25 remixes of the original songs from the first Hiroquest album. But then Andy jumped in and started talking about how Hiroquest Remix will introduce a whole new set of Hiroquest characters and MetaZoo characters, that it's going to be about a 66 to 75 card set, and it's going to come out sometime hopefully in November. The interesting thing too is that they use the term native creatures, which they refer to that as any sort of Hiroquest character or creature that does not exist in the Cryptid Nation MetaZoo story at large. That they'll have their own standalone story, standalone information, and again, like, everything will complement the MetaZoo Cryptid Nation story, the main storyline. The other really kind of interesting thing too is that Steve was talking about how Hiro will actually join, I guess, in essence, one of the tribes, and it's going to create a lot of drama. He said a lot of people will actually be shocked at what happens with Remix storyline wise. Also, Mike was talking about the distribution of Hiroquest Remix, where it won't come in a CD form. Well, it might come in a CD form, but the main way that you're going to actually get the cards for that set are through what's called blister packs. And from this blister pack, there'll be a QR code, and depending on which one you get, you will scan the QR code and it will bring up various different streaming apps that these songs from Hiroquest Remix will play from. So that's a brilliant marketing strategy, in my opinion, just because it interacts with, let's say, like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different streaming platforms, and each song will be exclusive to that platform. So to sum up, my theory is that Hiro from chapter 1 of the MetaZoo Cryptid Nation comic is the same Hiro that we actually see here in Hiroquest, that he traveled into the future, probably sometime between 2029 and 2031, saw exactly what was going to happen if Indrid Cold won, and then tries to come back in order to actually warn our protagonist in this main storyline. I also think that Jack Frost's ring could also be one of the Pullet rings far into the future, because remember, Jack Frost is represented in a Hiroquest card. It also says, the card itself, the flavor text talks about that it doesn't specifically have to be Jack Frost that wears the ring, it actually adds extreme power to the caster that holds that. So, like I said, I'm pretty confident that that is going to be one of the Pullet rings here in the future. I also theorized that at some point Hiro will come back to this future, to where even though this isn't the future of the main Cryptid Nation storyline, this future is still taking place. So I theorized that Hiro not only comes back to warn everybody in our time exactly what they need to do in order to prevent this, but I also think he brings people with him in order to help overthrow whatever that evil is. Now, I know in the music video the big evil is Piazza Bird, but I don't think that's the big baddie here. I think it still has to do with Indrid Cold and other antagonists that we have not seen in the main MetaZoo storyline. The reason I bring this up though is Sam Sinclair is one of the cards in the original Hiroquest Genesis set. So I don't feel that Sam existed for these thousands of years. I feel that Hiro either taught Sam how to come into the future with him, time travel, or Hiro brought Sam to the future with him. And yes, I want to say here at the end, I understand that Hiro from chapter 1 of the MetaZoo comic and Hiro from Hiroquest are spelled differently, but I still think that they are the same person, mainly because we don't know how long Hiro was in the future. We don't know exactly what his true linear path is, if you will. We just know that he traveled to the future, saw exactly what was going to happen, and then tried to come back. I also don't think it's coincidence though that in chapter 1 Sam sees a picture of Hiro on that wall fighting a fictitious Piazza Bird, and Hiro in Hiroquest, the music video, is fighting an actual Piazza Bird. So I think there are a lot of connections between the two, and like I said before, I think Hiro and Hiro are the same person. But my name is Trementic, thanks for checking out the video, leave your thoughts down below, and I will catch you with the next theory.